Before the walls of Jericho fell, the city was already defeated. Not by trumpets, not by shouting, but by fear, intelligence, and a choice made by one woman. For centuries, the fall of Jericho has been remembered as a miracle. But what if it was also one of the most calculated military operations of the ancient world? Tonight, we're going to reconstruct Jericho as it truly was, why it mattered, why it was targeted, and why its fall was inevitable. Jericho was not attacked at random, it was the gateway city of Canaan. Positioned right near the Jordan River, Jericho controlled the main eastern access route into the land. Any force crossing the Jordan simply could not advance inland without either capturing Jericho or being destroyed from behind. From a military standpoint, leaving Jericho standing would have been suicide. But geography was only part of the reason. Jericho was wealthy. It was known as the City of Palms, fed by powerful natural springs and surrounded by fertile land. It sat at the crossroads of major trade routes. Dates, balsam, grain. Jericho was an economic powerhouse in an otherwise harsh region. For a migrating people like the Israelites, Jericho represented food security, supply control, and ultimate survival. But there was a third reason, one that's rarely discussed. Jericho was a religious stronghold, deeply rooted in Canaanite practices that the Israelites viewed as destructive: fertility cults, ritual exploitation, and even child sacrifice. From the perspective of their leader, Joshua, Jericho wasn't just an enemy city. It was a contaminating influence sitting right at the front door of their promised land. And that's why Jericho was not negotiated with, it was marked for destruction. By the time the Israelites camped across the Jordan River, Jericho already knew who they were. In the ancient world, news traveled faster than armies. The stories of the Red Sea parting, of Egypt's collapse, of the defeat of powerful kings east of the Jordan, all of this had reached Jericho. A woman named Rahab later reveals the truth. Our hearts melted in fear. This is critical. Jericho was fortified, yes, but psychologically, it was unstable. Walls can protect bodies, but they can't protect morale, and Joshua understood this. So before the marching, before the rituals, before a single trumpet was sounded, he sent to spies, not priests, not warriors, observers. Their mission wasn't to fight, but to understand the city's state of mind. The spies entered Jericho quietly. But they were detected almost immediately. The king issued an arrest order. This should have been the end of the mission. Instead, it passed into the hands of a woman named Rahab. Rahab lived inside the city wall itself, a strategic detail with enormous implications. She hid the spies on her roof under stalks of flax. Then, she lied directly to Jericho's authorities, sending them on a wild goose chase. This wasn't just impulsive courage, it was calculated survival. Rahab had already chosen a side not because Israel was physically present, but because she believed Jericho was already lost. She told the spies, "We have heard, and our courage failed." Then she did something decisive. She lowered the spies by a rope outside the wall, exploiting her unique position. She gave them operational instructions: hide in the hills, avoid the main pursuit routes, and wait until the search party gives up. This is intelligence warfare in its earliest form. And before letting them go, she secured a deal. A single red cord hung from her window, a signal, a mark of protection. When the Israelites finally began marching around Jericho, the battle had, in many ways, already started. Think about what Jericho's leadership knew at this point: the enemy had successfully scouted the city. Their defenses had been compromised, and most alarmingly, someone inside had helped them. The silence of the marching army was a deliberate tactic. Ancient armies would shout insults and issue threats to demoralize their opponents. But Joshua's army said nothing. For 6 days, they just marched. Silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds fear. Every single lap around the city was a new wave of psychological pressure. Jericho waited for an attack that never came. Instead, they were studied, measured, and counted. The Israelites weren't just besieging a city, they were besieging its mind. Then, on the 7th day, the pattern broke. 7 laps, this time with trumpets sounding continuously. And then, a unified shout from the entire army. The walls collapsed. Archaeology confirms something unsettling about this event. The walls appear to have fallen outward, not inward, which isn't typical for a city under assault. Possible explanations range from structural failure caused by sonic vibrations to an earthquake along the Jordan Rift Valley fault line, a perfectly timed natural event. But maybe faith doesn't cancel out physics, maybe it operates through it. And in the middle of all that chaos, Rahab's section of the wall did not fall. Her house remained standing, the red cord still visible in her window. Precision matters, so what really fell at Jericho? It wasn't just stone and mud brick. Jericho didn't fall because of trumpets alone. It fell because its morale collapsed long before the walls did. It fell because its intelligence was breached and its leadership completely underestimated the power of fear. Its people waited for the end instead of adapting to the threat. Rahab survived. She and her family were saved, and she became a part of Israel. In fact, her lineage is traced all the way to King David and, in the Christian tradition, eventually to Jesus. The walls of Jericho fell once. But her single decision reshaped history forever, so was the fall of Jericho a miracle? Or was it a warning, a lesson that when belief, strategy, and perfect timing align, entire civilizations can collapse just like stone? Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history's most pivotal moments.